Hello. This is Raphael Colantonio.
Harvey Smith.
We were co-creative director on Dishonored, and this has been 15 years. 15 years later, I personally haven't played the game since it shipped, which people always think it's really funny and strange. Like, why would not you play the game? It's like, well, I played all the shitty versions until it came out.
Well, first of all, 15 years. Actually, it's 16 or because it's 2012 to 2026. I don't know.
Yeah.
June or when did it come out?
Well, we came out in 2012.
Yeah.
October 2012. Yeah.
14 years.
Yeah.
In October. Didn't it come out in October?
It came out in October.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
We old, so we forgot everything.
Yeah.
But anyway, Harvey, you played it while you were doing Dishonored 2.
Yeah, the last time I played it was we were working on Dishonored 2. I moved to Lyon, France, because it's very confusing to everybody that you grew up in Lyon.
Yeah, people are confused about that.
You moved to Austin.
Yep.
We made Dishonored, but we worked with a team of people in Lyon. We
Yeah.
went back and forth.
Yeah.
And then at the end of that, you stayed in Austin and made Prey
Yeah.
with Ricardo and company. And I moved to Lyon with Dinga and those guys, Sebastian Maton, and we made Dishonored 2.
Yeah, that's right. So
but
we
in that period, that was 2013 to 2017 or 2016.
16. Yeah, we're shifting.
Because Death of the Outsider was 2017, and I was half there and half back. And to be honest, by the end of Death of the Outsider, it was being finished in Lyon, and I was ready to move back. But yeah, that was the 4-year window, 2013 to 2016 or whatever. And I played it a lot to get ready for Dishonored 2. Yeah.
Right. So either way, both of us haven't played this game in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to play it. I initially wanted to do a playthrough, and some people online suggested, hey, why don't you stream it? Streaming is a little too involving, but and then some people said, why don't you invite some other developers? That's cool. So we could make it some sort of a dev commentary playthrough, whatever. This is the first episode of all of them. I don't know how many episodes they're going to be. I'm definitely going to play the game from start to finish. Every time I'm going to play a mission, I'll try to find the level designer. Anyway, so I have two cameras, two modes. This one is like when I'll play, and this one is when we discuss, and we want to see our faces a little more.
The kid he's like an adult dude now, but the guy from Stranger Things was in the game shop the other day, and he pulled Dishonored off the shelf, and he was freaking out about it. And he was like, this forgotten gem or whatever. And I was like, forgotten? But we just shipped that game. And then I was like, wait a second. How long ago was that? Like, some people literally were born probably the year that it came out. And like, you know.
And in general, man, other than this little video you're talking about, there's been some crazy amount of love for Dishonored that happened on Twitter lately. Yeah. And we're like, what's going on? And so that gave me the desire to play the game and to see like what's so cool about this game. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's worth a general comment, I think, to say if you're lucky enough to get a job that you dreamed about, like game developer, which we're two of the luckiest people I've ever known in terms of profession and stuff, because we both grew up on games. We love games. We love creating stuff for games. We love imagining worlds with a very specific flavor or whatever. And it was a very rare moment in time that we could come together with Christophe and Ricardo and, Mit, Sebastian Maton and those guys. And like, it was only a moment in time that would have worked for us all to come together, and people from Deus Ex, many people from Arkane to make Dishonored. And
the right people at the right time.
And it's worth a general comment just to say, if you are lucky enough to have a job that you love, and you do it for as long as we've done it, like 32 years, whatever it is, chances are most of the time it doesn't work out. Chances are it's canceled projects. It's projects that go terribly wrong. It's projects that get taken out of your hands. It's projects you make major mistakes on. And then a few times...
You get killed.
Yeah. And a few times it's so good that you want to play it later.
Yeah.
And I've only had that experience like 4 times, that I just like love the game so much that I want to keep playing it. And Dishonored was hard to walk away from. We finished it. We immediately launched into the DLC with Dowd, and that was fantastic.
I was a little sick of it personally, but
I'll never forget at the end of Dishonored 1 and the Knife of Dunwall and the Brigmore Witches, you were like telling me, as we both love this kind of game, But Dishonored honestly has a model, a structure that's a little more Deus Ex-like. But our favorite game of all time is both of us, Underworld, Ultima Underworld.
Yeah.
And you were telling me, I want to make a game that is one contiguous real-time mission. It's an homage to System Shock and all. And it's what became Prey. But
yeah. I haven't played in a long time, so I probably am going to feel rusty, but... and I'm an older gamer, so I won't...
Is this going to be on your old OnlyFans? I have to take my shoes off.
Of course. Yeah. So yeah, all right. So I don't know. We might be sometime tough on our own game, right? Like I think it'll be fine to be pretty critical.
Dude, I'm having reactions already because I forgot how good the audio scape is. Like the sound effects done by Toma, we call the Turtle's brother. I forgot how I didn't know going into Arkane how good he was.
Yeah.
He like leveled up a lot on this project.
Yeah.
And then we worked with Daniel Lick,
Daniel Lick.
And
Tough did some of the sounds. It was it was still Tough is our back then was our lead level designer.
Level design director, he would tell.
Well, now, yes, but because we grew in size, etc. But back then he was lead level designer, and he also did some of the audio. Anyway,
it's crazy. Almost every video game studio I've ever been at or have friends at has a lot of musicians inside for some reason.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of like the artsy thing.
But I'm just having a reaction too because the UI art. I don't remember if this was Julian Mario or who it was. The UI art. Another phenom guy.
Yeah.
And it looks
a David Hurtmaker, which sounds like a hoodmaker.
Yeah, and it looks a little like paper. The game's kind of a pseudo 1850s.
Yeah.
And also I'm shocked at how desaturated it is. Like the thing is, everybody constantly tries to make everything bright and purple and colorful, and like you look at the art direction of the new D&D, everything is pastels.
Yeah.
And I always say all the characters look like the art direction was the drugs just hit. Because there's some gnome leaping through the air, and he looks ecstatic, and everything's purple and pastel,
it's a marketing
baby
thing,
blue.
Yeah.
And I love this because it's so
it's more muted.
dark, and when you have color, like an advertisement or a light or something,
then it pops.
It pops.
Yeah.
And for a stealth game, information clarity is key.
Yeah, we had the right balance of because Arkane was always accused of making games that were too desaturated, too dark. And some of it was my personal taste, and then with Dishonored, we really for us, right? I'm not saying like for Blizzard, but for us, we really popped the colors.
Yeah.
Like we went as saturated as we could, and it still looked desaturated. But then in the game, we'll see where he does.
If you look at the mark of the outsider on Corvo's hand there, obviously that's not exactly the right Corvo face, but whatever. But it looks beautiful. It's like these colors I wouldn't have expected with the particles coming off of it. The train goes by every now and then. The wall of light is working. Like I forgot all this motion and dynamism, the floating pieces of.
I mean, it's polished. We did something fairly polished back then. I mean, I look at it, I'm like, man, this is intimidating because that's 15 years ago.
Yeah, because so often, if you make a complex game, you barely get it together by the end, and it's just like barely held together, and it goes out. And some super hardcore people love it, and everybody else is like, it's a little too buggy or whatever.
Yeah,
which is a fair assessment. But still, I feel like Dishonored was more polished than most things we've done.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. So anyway, let's look at it. We're gonna play normal, right?
Okay. I thought you were gonna inch toward the what is the fourth difficulty called?
Tell me a story. Oh no, the nightmare.
Yeah.
Anyway. I don't know if we want to talk about how we got into it. Initially, it was, I mean, first of all, why did we even co-direct this game? Because initially, we were going to do each our own thing. And Harvey and I have known each other for a while, but when Harvey joined Arkane, there was no plan of, hey, let's share creative direction on one game. And there's been some back and forth. And I've told the story a few times about... before we did Dishonored, we were supposed to either do Thief or Blade Runner. That's the thing that was funny when Bethesda approached us. The proposition was, hey, we have the Thief franchise and we know the people to make that game, and it's our
which
game.
Is basically like coming to two cats and saying, we have a big bag of catnip here on one side, we have another bag of catnip here. Which one do you want? You want both? we were both so excited. Blade Runner and Thief, like two of our favorite games of all time.
But Blade Runner came a little later. At first, it was just Thief, and I was like so excited. And we were in such a dire situation business wise, and they came up not only to save us from business, but also to bring frankly the IP that I would have liked to work on the most.
Yeah, we almost did. We had an amazing pitch for Thief. Would have been Thief 4.
It was Thief 4. More than a pitch, we had some videos.
And then for Blade Runner, we had worked with Etienne, our brilliant animator, specializing first person in combat, just like really good guy, game designer on top of everything. And we had done the some of the, I don't remember if we did the void, not the void comp machine, but the Esper.
No, we did the thing that zooms in 3D.
I think that's technically called Esper.
Okay.
Nobody knows that, but like that's what it is. And then we also did some replicant fighting because we had talked to
it's true,
Doug Church, and he had said, even sitting around in a room together, they would be doing things with their bodies that humans couldn't do. Like when Chris reaches in and grabs the eggs out of the boiling water or whatever. So we had flips, and it was like super exciting to be working on Blade Runner.
Yeah.
The story pitch that we had for Blade Runner, I think, was just, I loved it. And then you want to tell the rest of the story?
Well, I mean, the funny thing was that we initially we thought we were going to do Thief. I was so excited. And then they said like, well, it might be also Blade Runner. And there was no way I could focus on Thief and Blade Runner at the same time. So Harvey, though, and plus I'm not a big fan of Blade Runner, let's be frank. I mean, I like Blade Runner, the movie. I've seen it a few times, but I'm not like raving about it. Well, maybe I should rephrase that. I like it a lot. It's just that I'm not an expert in it.
Yeah.
But Harvey is a big expert and fan of Blade Runner, like probably more than I was of Thief back then.
Well,
anyway.
Probably the inverse is true. Like Thief is in my top 5, but I would say it's either your number 1 or number 2.
Right. So there was something like that naturally fell in place where. As Bethesda was kind of like saying like we definitely we'll get one of them, we don't know which one. Eventually, so Harvey was leading the Blade Runner effort, I was leading the Thief effort, and there was a little bit of a competition in a way, because even though we wanted what's best for the company, but at the end of the day, I would have been devastated if it was Blade Runner, and because it meant that I was not directing it, and also because it meant that I don't care so much for it as much as I care for Thief, and vice versa. And when eventually both fell, none of them worked out, and we thought maybe they're gonna, shut the deal. Like we were not acquired yet, but like we had this deal with them to do the next Thief or the next Blade Runner, and eventually they said, it's okay, keep what you're doing, and call it Dishonored. And that's how so the point here is that it started on the base of a Thief 4 in our version of Thief 4. And then Harvey and I, we thought, how about we both co-directed, right? And it was a strange attempt, because we were not used to shared direction. We're not used to, of course, we can give each other feedback, etc. But the decision making, we had to share it for the first time in our career.
So much of decision making is because we're both very collaborative people. Like I work with, I'm trying to not talk too much about what I'm doing right now, but I have for many years worked with people like Ricardo, and other level designers from Deus Ex Land and all that, and like we're very collaborative. Like often the best ideas from one of those guys or whatever, right? But like the actual day-to-day, I'll never forget, we moved into an office together. We had a conference room with a big window looking out over the rest of the team, and we moved our chairs into there and sat back to back, and then would occasionally roll around to talk.
Mm-hmm.
And it was great, but and maybe this is jumping ahead, but it was so fucking hard to work every day with two people who both had a different kind of form of power, like making decisions, and making many decisions in direction are arbitrary.
Yeah.
And you can make a different one and it would be just as good a game, but this is the game your team is making. And I remember we got to the very end of the project and it felt like we had needed couples therapy or something. Like at times it was hilarious and it was super fun and I learned a lot, and vice versa, I think. Yeah. But then other times it was grueling. But then we also felt, you own this piece a little bit more and I'll own that piece a little more, and you give me feedback, and that worked out really well. But at the very end, I remember us talking about it, and I said something about co-directing or whatever, and you just instantly said never again. And I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I think, I mean, I have great memories of it.
Yeah.
It's almost like a relationship, but a relationship that went really well. I mean, we had some tensions, of course, because making a game is hard. It's super hard. So there's going to be some tension. Every time I work with people, there's going to be some tension. But I grew from it in my own way. Like I learned how to put a little more space between my thoughts and my words. And I guess you too. And so because now when we became pretty good at reading, when we were in meetings with others, most of the time we were in agreement with everything. But then if we were not, we were pretty good at reading that moment was coming, and then we'd be like, yeah, let's think about it, and we'll get back to that one, and then we would go off, fight if we have to, have coffee or whatever, and then come up with a result that usually was better than what I would have said on my own, and what you would have said on your own probably back then.
And almost all the ideas, out of respect for this relationship and how hard it was, almost all the ideas I had, even every random stray thought, I would first turn to you and say, what do you think about a system where you can not kill the main villains, like non-lethal resolutions or whatever? Let's talk about that. And we talked for like 30 minutes, both excited. And then we wrote a little list on a yellow sticky of like the ideas we could just come up with rapidly. Took that to the team, pitched it to the team. They replaced about half of those ideas with better ideas. And then that started going into the game like that.
Yeah.
But it first would happen between the two of us, and we would hash it out and see the problems and all of that. So
yeah,
it's like really good.
Okay, let's try to play that game a little bit.
Cool. If only there was someone else.
Yeah, are we going to talk over the cinematics?
Yeah, we can.
You can just find those on YouTube. I was just saying I was thinking how much world building we did, because all the notes, we really infused them with like the flavor of the game and the deep fiction of the game. So if you're waiting on a load and you read it, it actually was a huge benefit. But also, the artist, I was so proud of them for like caring. Like when you're standing on the bank here in the city and you're looking in that direction, you can see that architecture, even if it's not real in the world. It's not an open world game.
Right.
But they kept the relationship of where, in relation to the Hound Pits Pub, which started as the Bear Pits because it was an homage to Thief. We changed it to Hound Pits. Yeah.
Right.
You can see the tower in the distance. You know, the city is well laid out.
Oh yeah, I mean, Sébastien Mitton and Victor Antonov and Damien Laurent and Jean-Luc, they were at that phase of their career where they were so happy to finally be unleashed, and we gave them, Bethesda gave us the means, and we had the ambitions, and nobody was against going weird or going at the direction we were going to, and that was really welcome because it allowed us to do that.
This Miyazaki style art mixed with modern lighting that they came up with, I love so much. And I remember the first time I saw the rocks that looked like they're carved out of soap or whatever.
Yeah, it's really cool.
I don't know who came up with the idea for the water lock, but like it wasn't.
Man, there was so many iterations of that. I don't know. I think it was an artist. I don't think it wasn't me either.
But it's like such a good way to have the river be lower than the tower standing above everything.
Yeah.
And it also is a way to squeeze in industrial shit that feels like it's from the 1850s. Even though I think this is probably impossible with that level of technology. It is so awesome and
it works though, yeah.
Grandiose the first time you get into it.
Yeah. Yeah, I almost feel the wet water on me, I remember when we had it down really well.
Waiting for your news, though. All the voice actors we worked with were fun too. Like, this is Captain Karnal. And come on,
he's gonna
find the path. Come on, do it.
This is so funny. Well, that is interesting.
No player in history probably stayed and watched him though. They probably raced ahead.
I don't know. I've never seen that before.
We could just blame Unreal for that.
Yeah, we'll blame Unreal for anything.
Pressure was too low.
All right, we're kidding. Yeah, and so the very beginning for us is a way to calibrate the player to the rules of our game, right? So initially, the cinematic already shows that you have control. At least you can turn your head every ways when you were locked into the boat.
Yeah.
There was never we lose the first-person camera. That was one of the rules.
Well, here's a good thing too. Show what happens when you turn the wheel.
Good boy, sir.
I don't think I would have thought of that.
And now look back, behind you. Like,
Oh
this
yeah,
is
yeah.
something in a lot of games where people will do like, well, you push the button already. You're
Yeah,
there.
you lock it
We don't
down.
want to
Yeah,
let
yeah,
you back,
yeah.
but it's like,
Yeah, no, for us it's all like it's a way to signal the player that yeah, you can trust this game. We are going to give you options where if you see something that is interactive, it's probably going to be interactive, and you can talk to people. They'll
we're not quite at the time yet where you could unbutton the suspenders and have his pants fall down, but
Hello.
yeah. Oh, of course, Emily. There's so much to tell about her. Do you remember when? That's a funny one. You remember when she was? Of course, at some point, Emily was not even the true heir to the empress,
like,
to the throne. She was placed by the conspiracy as a fake.
yeah.
And we had that game for a long time, and then I remember after Alpha, somewhere between Alpha and Beta, we met. We said like, we texted and said like, let's go to let's have coffee. We have a problem with the story, and usually it's forbidden. You could not touch the story at this point, but we then made the painful but yet right decision to move
To
simplify, but also to put her at the very beginning because everything was dark. There was nothing worth saving, and so all of a sudden we needed this character, Emily. She became key to the emotional attachment to the player by putting her at the very beginning of the game instead of not seeing her until the brothel moment,
Right.
and also making her truly the heir of the throne, which she was not initially, right?
Yeah, the initial plot was too complicated, and I think you did a great thing by saying we need to simplify this. People don't understand it; it's too complicated. She was initially Dowd's daughter, and they had trained her to act like the Empress's daughter, and the story was the Empress went away for 9 months to the country to have a baby, and someone took the baby because it was out of wedlock or whatever, and like they brought her back and said, look, this is your secret daughter or whatever, and but that was too convoluted, and so her just being Corvo and Jessamine's daughter, like, Corvo the father, the best kept secret or whatever, right, meant that she could live here, she could be with you, she could take over in Dishonored 2. We didn't have that plan yet, but
Yeah, that's right. Thank God we did that.
But and then at some point along the way, we came up with her drawings being like a reflection for your moral behavior.
Yeah.
It worked really well.
Yeah. So
The dads in the game industry cried.
Yeah, and the beginning in general, there's been so many versions of the beginning. But if we want to talk about stealth for a second here, I mean, the people who worked on it directly, like Seth, etc., they're not here, but they will come probably to the stream at some point. What's interesting, we tried to go the thief way, where like hiding in shadows actually works better than hiding in plain sight, in the sun. I mean, but it never worked. We struggled so bad with that because thief had hard shadows, we had soft shadows, so everything is ambiguous in our case. Like this looks dark there, in another environment it's actually very bright.
But it's going to be increasingly less likely because unless you lean hard into art
In the style, yeah.
because Thief was basically like a checkerboard pattern.
Yeah.
Shadows or not shadows, and modern lighting, soft shadows.
Yeah, it's more sweater, yeah.
So
Yeah, plus it's all relative to one scene, and so it fools the eye and your perception.
but the benefit is we didn't have to have like a light gem or something, to show whether you were in shadow or not. And we just used line of sight and direction and gave you a little grace by looking over things or whatever.
Yeah.
But
Anyway,
using Emily for hide and seek
Yeah, it's a great way to bond
is
with
a
her.
low stakes way to train.
Oh, yeah, and
and it's also a way to bond with.
Yeah, it's
totally.
for both. Yeah, it's kind of like a double win.
And this is Sokolov painting High Overseer Campbell. So two of the main characters from the game. I still meet people periodically who don't know that if you drink the cider that's on the table behind Campbell,
Changes
it's
the
in there in the final picture, Those simple tricks like that are so good
Yeah,
because they pay off player agency, like
yeah.
Now keep still a moment, High Overseer Campbell.
some of these voice actors are some of my favorite voice actors that I've ever worked with.
He'll see you at once, sir.
Yeah, people don't realize like the amount of work that there is to coordinate all the like when you come in and the guy doing the gesture to let you know where to go. All the direction, the guiding is very, very clear, and
We also
took forever.
Yeah, we also did a ton of non-blocking conversations And I'm so glad. Like at times we take camera control because we need you to see and hear.
Yeah, and it's a semi-failure in my books.
It is. I guess it is, but it doesn't work another way, right? Unless nothing matters, right? But then the number of times we just like let you walk up to a guy and click on him 3 times, and it's world building. He says something meaningful every time, generally, and you get a sense for them.
Yeah. Oh, he's gonna say something to me.
It is early, full of surprises, as usual.
Yeah.
So you came back early, which spoiled their plans to assassinate the Empress.
Yeah, subtle cue.
It's a fair wind that brings you home, Timo. What news has you brought?
All right.
I love the complication of their relationship. Like she's in charge, she's got to be the Empress, imperious in front of her people, but she's passionately in love with Corvo. You know, it's a foreigner to the nation. Nobody trusts him. It's like
We're at the breaking point.
I remember when she had a different look at some point. She was blonde.
yeah.
We're going to blockade us. They'll wait to see if the plague turns the city into a graveyard.
Are you okay, Mother?
And if you observe, I remember I think there was you can see the
Where's 5? Wait,
guys coming up there. Yeah, there you go.
sent them away.
And it's possible to abort. Did you know that? You can actually abort
Stop the
Yeah,
assassination.
you can abort
Did we do an in-game screen?
Yeah.
And you lived happily ever after or whatever.
Yeah.
This was like a game where your powers are super rare. You're marked by the outsider. But we wanted other people to be able to do stuff like
Still remember that move. Yeah.
And yeah, good job. But we came up with a power for Dowd called Arcane Mark, which means Delilah has it too. Whoever follows them loyally gets some of their powers. And that was like a good cheat for like, giving other people
If you
powers.
hadn't been here. Not again.
Yeah, some of the decisions are usually look like they were planned, etc., but often they're an afterthought or there's something to justify something else.
And the idea, I know this starts with the murder of a woman and all that, but the idea that Dowd feels such deep remorse later, and after killing a lot of bad people over the course of his career, feels like I did a bad thing there that changed the world in a very dark way or whatever. It was like, he becomes an interesting character.
Yeah.
To do. Won't you? Corvo.
What have you done?
Lord us all. Look at what he's done.
This is very like the fat hobbit. He has crumbs in his jacket. He ate the bread. This is like
What did you do with young Lady Emily?
Yeah, very, very clear setup.
Yeah.
I guess that was the strength of that story, in the sense that there's no ambiguity. You don't really wonder what's going on. There's nothing like trying to retrace what has happened. It's all like in your face. And
what's crazy is when you're developing a game, if you use anything that is classic or known, a common narrative beat that people get behind, like you were falsely accused for killing the person you loved and now you've got to get revenge. There's always somebody in the room who's like, oh God, this cliche again. And it's like, dude, you have to tell stories that resonate with people, that they understand. And so many times developers start with just like oh, I forgot about this.
Yeah, right.
So many times people start with a super convoluted story that doesn't actually sort of pay off in terms of justice or understanding people's archetypes or whatever. And it's almost always stronger if you start this way and you put the depth somewhere else,
Yeah, it's true. I mean, some of it is also where you are at what you want to tell, because we don't really think in terms of formulas so much, and we look at formulas as a way to challenge our game, right? More than let's start with a formula. I don't think we started with let's have a good old revenge story.
But at some point we backed down and we said this is non-comprehensible to people.
Yes,
need it to resonate.
That's true. Yeah, exactly.
And so then you gravitate toward the enemy gets in your face, burns you. You hate this guy.
Yeah, I hate him.
And Lord Regent.
Good. I remember. Todd Vaughn, he was the VP of the development of Bethesda, a guy that we really like. He had a strong impact on the story and some of the moments of Dishonored, frankly.
This meal comes
some of it, because he would always bring it back to the essential. And I remember when and we didn't go all the way with that idea, but we did some of it, right? The betrayal, where you get to know fairly closely those people from the conspiracy, and then at some point,
What do we call them?
you.
We call them the loyalists.
So you're
Because they claim that we are, we need to take down the little region because we're loyal to the old empress or whatever, which is total bullshit, of course. But
Yeah.
Todd was fond of saying, make it darker.
Make it darker, yeah. And then we went too dark. Do you remember when? I mean, I guess we're gonna talk about The Outsider in a minute, so let's wait for that. But I have a story about The Outsider, which is funny.
I remember Toph suggesting putting the key under the bread or
Yeah,
Like-
it's a trick to.
because there's nothing else you can do in the room except eat the bread, you know.
Yeah.
When you lock somebody in a cell and you're telling them you literally can't play this game until you figure out how to get out of the cell. And you do focus testing and you watch, like, half the people just can't leave the cell, so you have to do something that is idiot proof. And I don't mean that in a disparaging way. I would struggle with the same thing. And putting the key under the bread was like a really good idea.
Yeah.
Time for the high and mighty.
Well, also because
Do you remember this guy?
Yeah.
Where he looked at Spud from Train Spotting and we're like, these British guys from the 1850s, they are so like undernourished or bad teeth or whatever, you know, and it's like we try to make them brutal or weaselly, you know, one or the other, you know.
yeah.
I'll never forget the voice actor who was, he did a really good job with the stealth and the rats, but I'll never forget the voice actor who was,
Oops.
played one of the elite guards, one of the guard captains, I think. And we saw his headshot and his resume, and it was full of credits. It was like 6 pages of credits. This guy's been a cop in every TV show ever, or a doctor. He's been in Star Trek. He's been Westerns. He's been all this shit. And we worked with him, and he was killer. He just nailed every line. He had all this resonance. And I remember telling him, like, sitting there having lunch with him, and I was like, you've done so much. Like, you've done so much work. You've been at this for so long. You've been in movies like 30 years or whatever. And he was like, let me put it this way. When the movie Young Guns came out, which like Emilio Estevez and, you know, Kiefer Sutherland and all those guys playing Billy the Kid, and they were all like 20 or something, I don't know. He was like, that movie has 7 guys in it, and 6 of them went on to become famous millionaire actors. I'm the 7th guy. And so he had done commercials, and he had done little pickup parts as a cop in a TV show, video games, things like that. But he was fantastic. He's talented.
Man, I'm rediscovering a little bit the things. The motion feels so slick on the first person. I really like.
This is a hard thing to get right. The camera and the player.
Yeah, I remember we had a spring on the. We mounted like that's an idea we stole from Thief.
Yeah, Looking Glass and Ion Storm did this really well, and some modern games do it super well, of course. But I was just looking at, and I won't name names here because I wish them the best. I was looking today at like a recent announcement for a new immersive sim, and the art style is cool, and the interactivity is cool, and the main power they have is cool, but the camera is so flat, and you move around in the world, you feel like a hovercraft.
Yeah.
And nothing has any physics, nothing
Some
has
of it
any
is.
balance.
Some of it is that some gamers don't
Get
like
thick,
when
I
it
guess.
moves.
You should be able to turn it up and down, I guess. But like, one of the things that makes this feel like you can still play it today is that it feels very organic, you know, in
Yeah,
the body.
yeah. There's a bit of a tilting of the camera, etc. So, by the way, I'm not gonna play Ghost or anything like that because, first of all, it's so hard and it would take a lot of reload, and also I kind of like to kill people sometimes.
Totally, it's cathartic.
Oh.
I mean, I know you're non-violent, but like killing people in games is fantastic. I will also say you deserve a huge amount of credit, you and Etienne and other people who had worked on Dark Messiah, because like all those little tricks, like I think you could go high too, by the way, but the
Here?
all those little tricks, like where there is a moment when the guy sees you before he fights, just a moment where if you attack, you're fatality.
On the window, yeah.
And you come to know how long this window is, you know.
Execution will be restricted to the personnel assigned to the event and approved dignitaries only.
There was a huge focus on fascism and authoritarianism at the
Yeah,
beginning of
it
the
looks-
project.
Yeah.
And that was hard to get right too, because you don't want things to look overtly
like Nazi or something.
Yeah, right. But like at the same time, these patterns repeat themselves over and over, as we see in current politics.
And plus, I mean, I guess the colors as well, the choice of the red and the dark and all that makes it definitely very Nazi.
Yep.
It's a cool, like reference without really necessarily super noticing it.
Yeah, and if that everybody knows that group the best, but like so many despots and dictators have done the big posters and statues and cult of personality and the members of the tribe all wearing the same color or whatever. Sadly it's a pattern that comes up over and over.
Yeah.
Oh man, the design of these machines.
Yeah, those are so cool. Even though they move weird.
Pierre Pronier was the environmental art lead.
Pierre Pronier.
Yeah. That group of like that sort of team on a game team making the props and stuff is often like they don't get their due, right? And in Arkane's case, that team was like one of the strongest teams. Like the coins they made and the props and the little machines and the safes and all those things have such a huge part of the identity of the game. Those guys deserve a lot of credit, man.
Do you remember when we had that explosive thing? Again, there's been so many versions of this beginning that in some ways I can't remember which one we kept.
It's
and
like
now,
watching Run Lola Run.
Yeah,
Four versions of the same story, and by the time you get to end of development, people ask you trivia questions, and you're like,
yeah, I can't remember because there was 12 versions of that. Yeah, and so here we had a version that was way more complex than that, where you would actually fabricate a bomb. I think like there was like several the days when like you would start again in the cells the next day, and this time you had to do a different task, etc. So anyway, it's been very, very simplified for the better, for sure. Ooh.
It is a cool idea though, like waking up every day in the cell, needing to get back to the cell. You update something and you leave it in a locker, and then you come back the next day and add the next piece because you got the next piece. It's a cool idea.
Things probably to talk with the level designers later in a later thing, but like it's interesting as well how every cover is very integrated, not as it's very subtly integrated. Like those little walls are pretty fitting in this environment.
Attention, the solitary wing is off limits to maintenance drill, unless...
Oh, all right, I get it. Oh shit, there's this thing where I stay stuck in the... Okay, well that's a perfect parry, I guess. All right.
The ragdoll is a little...
Over the top, yeah, there's a weird impulse going up for some reason here. Oh shit. All right, so we had the base guards, these ones, they were basically very easy. And then there was the bigger ones. This is a small one, but the bigger one they would parry.
Yeah, and kick sometimes.
Yeah.
Punch.
And then there was the elites who were, man, a mess. Now I'm playing sloppy again.
The rats are gonna come.
Yeah, those vertical space. I remember when Meat was describing them, he wanted this kind of like super oppressive, very, very tall ceilings place. And then here I think there were some cells. Yeah, this is this guy over there. Can I do something with him? I can't remember. Can I kill him? Nope. See, if I could go back in time, I would say like, here we need to hear clank clank. Yeah, here it's not interactive, which kind of bothers me. Anyway. But and do you remember the ending we had? I mean, initially I think we wanted to start with an execution. The player was actually was going to have their head severed,
right?
And then the outsider would show up and play bend time level 3, basically with reverse time, and your head would come back on your shoulder, and then you would say, "I'm gonna give you a chance," or something like that, right? And we, of course, we dropped all that. I don't know why we dropped it, because it would have been pretty dramatic and cool. But maybe too gory. I don't know. But eventually, it was not the move.
I do remember very early on when we talked about the outsider, he didn't have one coherent body.
Sometimes it was supposed to be a cat or something.
Sometimes he would show up as a cat in an alley that
or dead body.
Dead body would suddenly lift up.
Yeah.
By an officer of the law. Escorting of the
that I guess I don't know if I have to do that, but I like to do it. I guess it's I have to, right? Yeah, it's a cool tutorial moment so that to teach me how to climb. Yeah, the mentor felt so good in this game.
I mean, all these draconian statements like the boldest measures are the safest and order shall prevail. If you can convince a population that they should be scared, then you can justify all these draconian actions. And that was like the sort of backdrop for the Lord Regent.
Yep.
I mean, you know, look, they killed the Empress. They might come kill you. You've got to do we got to do something to protect you.
I like that you eat directly without having to worry about your inventory. I guess that's what
that was a new change, by the way. At some point, we had very convoluted, like you collect things and you're gonna have to go sell them. Then that implies an inventory, and
we went a little more direct, which is
we just like
most mass market.
Changed it for you now got this much gold, or you eat it instantly, or whatever.
I gotta not die.
Yeah. All the visual storytelling, or all the world building, and like the foods you eat, the tags, the cans of tins of jelly.
Oh shit!
Or whatever. Oh, you forgot to do the. Oh, you can't. That's right. You swim.
Yeah, you swim now.
Yeah.
And follow the arrow.
But even the naming of things, Coldridge Prison and all that, it's really. There was no question. We were aiming at very strong world building.
Yeah. Man, I wish we'd do a game without markers at some point.
Yeah.
Go to sewers.
Or stay.
Oh, well, I guess gonna go.
There's a moment, by the way, I remember, like, because the way we were talking about, you know, when you're in development, you see 1,000 versions of everything, and most of them are broken. There's a moment where, right ahead, where we put a note right where the sort of street crumbles into the Renhaven River, and we made it very sad. And it's about two people that are in love, and they have one vial of elixir, so they don't drink it. They just sit there and watch the river till they both die or something, right? And these are the loyalists who are drawing you on. But that note that we added just ahead somewhere, like, oh, this is the horrible rat scene too.
Yeah.
That note, so many people have mentioned that note to me, like as a moment that the game kind of grabbed them.
Right.
Like,
yeah, that that situation was so convoluted in a way. We wanted to basically show what
Rats
was
are
the effect
dead.
on rats on you or the players, but we did this thing where, and it's locked, so you can go through. Now you can go on top of it, and then you still can see what's going under, and then right then 2 guards are coming in.
and this was grisly. If you watch, this was like technology for the time, you know, like slowly revealing the bones and the blood and all. It was even more gory at different points, I think. But.
Yeah. Anyway, it was a bit of a contrived setup, but it works. Is that I thought it was a Weeper. Oh shit. Yeah.
So you got introduced to the rats, and now they feed on the body. Got it.
Yeah, so
Every game we want to do swimming, and usually it gets cut. And I remember we fought to keep swimming, and it led to possession of fish, being able to swim through a fountain, come up in the
I mean,
toilet.
once we're there, that's why our games are so complicated, because everything can commit you to some more.
Yeah, right.
Well,
But it led to like possessing fish and swimming up through the toilet as another way of infiltrating or escaping is like fantastic. I'm very happy we did all that.
yeah, I like the UI, man.
Yep.
I hope maybe I'll have Julian Mario on the stream at some point on the
Be
video.
good, yeah.
This was the little puzzle, right? Still hammering on the rats and how they work. So I guess, yeah.
Those carriages and guard posts, like I don't remember if Victor Antonov did some of that, or if some of it was Jean-Luc Monet, probably a little bit of both.
Oh, the carriage were Victor.
Okay, but the guard posts, I remember Jean-Luc did an initial drawing of some of those guard posts, I think, but they had such a cool style.
The booths?
Yeah, when you come to the checkpoint.
Yeah, I think the booth were, I don't know, maybe it's Jean-Luc, I don't know. But Yeah, eventually it's hard to tell who did what because that's the point of an art direction where they all kind of like take the
All this water, man.
I'd be work together.
We probably wouldn't have done this much water if Bioshock hadn't existed, right? Like, just was in our minds, probably. And so using the street speakers to announce what has just happened, or what the setup ahead is, was like a really good up trap, yeah.
I can't remember. Can I?
I think you can hit it with the sword.
Oh yeah, or some sure, or some shit. I remember that moment. That was a tricky one too because we needed to. It's basically we needed to have Corvo, his gear and the mask and all of that was a nightmare to figure out. Like, at what time did you get the mask? How?
Yeah, because here you have a guard's pistol and a guard's sword, and we wanted you to have special gear.
Yeah.
But we also didn't want you to miss that key. So you pick it all up at once, and they show you what you
And that's the trick, is that we put the key so that
You cannot
not take the key. You cannot not take the equipment because you need the key. Yeah, so that's something that it's a little designer trick, a level designer trick. I like that, the little impulse. Every time we take something from the corpse, there is a little impulse on their ragdoll. That was a cool idea. Oop. Am I wasting one bullet or am I doing something like pushing this guy?
You guys volunteered to help.
Oh no, lame. There you go. Oh, is it the 451?
I think so.
We had only 3 numbers back then. Okay, cool. All right, so I guess
We're so old. This is before this is before 4-digit numbers were invented. Yeah, Looking Glass made System Shock, which is an homage to various science fiction works.
There you go.
And the first code was 0451 after Ray Bradbury. People use it a little dogmatically.
Was it their office code, right? I think.
Yeah, when I went to interview there, we got back from lunch, and I was with Art Min and Paul Neurath and somebody else, and we were about to go back in. They were about to let me in, and Art went, "Wait, Harvey, what's the code?" And it was like a job interview. I felt like all this pressure, but I immediately went like, doot, 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 and it opened, and it was
that's so cool. That's such a cool thing.
Yeah, this was like 1995 or something. I don't know, 494.
You know who we're hunting here?
That's awesome.
Try to take him out alone.
Is there? Okay.
So this is what we call bargle lines, right? With the voice actors. I don't know. We didn't invent this term, by the way, but the voice actors use ball gargling lines because they just make you sound cool.
Yeah.
Do you know who we're hunting here? He's a badass, or whatever. It's like Tower Fantasy shit.
All right, that's the drop attack tutorial, I believe.
Yes.
So I'm gonna drop, attack his ass. And I miss it. All right, retake.
Yeah, we'll edit this out. Like,
We'll edit this out.
We can't be seen failing the basic tutorial. It's funny.
I didn't have to do that, but I wanted to.
For some reason, it always bothered me that we have both the pistol and the crossbow. I never could in my mind reconcile that, but we didn't want silencers. That was ridiculous.
Yeah.
And we needed a stealthy weapon, and it was ridiculous not to be able to pick up a gun because they're everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. It's we had to.
Hey, can you hop up and down on that fire for a second?
What?
Hop up and down on that fire.
Up and down?
Yeah, just hop on the fire.
Like this?
Yeah, see how it damages you and you makes, so many games I've played will have a campfire or whatever that you can just stand in.
Oh.
And I know it's another trivial thing, like the wheel at the water lock, being able to raise and lower the little drawbridge. But to me, that's important.
Right.
Because once I trust the game that all fires will burn me, and if I knock a guard into that, he might catch on fire. It literally becomes a gameplay code, consistent rule.
Look how forgiving our stealth was.
Oh yeah.
It's really interesting because I remember the team always complaining that the guards were blind and etc. And
teams get too good at their own game. That's the problem.
Yeah,
and that's why you focus test.
And then Dishonored 2 became super hard, and at least they were the ways to make it really really hard, which is fine because I guess some gamers
It's probably at that point it's for a smaller set of people, but it was harder.
Yeah, but it's a good reminder sometimes that it's more like the the emotional state that you put the player in that matters more in a way, because you feel, how is it gonna get me, or
Stressed out.
Yeah,
And they feel good if they win, even if it was too easy. Actually, stealth games make some people feel stupid. It makes them feel judged.
Right.
And that's not a good state to leave the player in either, you know?
No.
Emily, heir to the throne. That's temporary.
All right, there we go. That's the end.
Over here.
Oh, Samuel Beechworth.
And I work for some good people.
It's a successful character. You know, his voice reminds me of Al Pacino for some reason.
Yeah, he does sound like an older Al Pacino.
Just down the river.
Obviously made to be like a simple, beloved grandfather-like figure.
Yeah.
And when his judgment at the end of the game hurts people so much, like when there's a moment where he either says, "I'm proud to have served with you," or, you know, "You're such a monster, you've killed so many people, and that's why I'm telling him you're coming," and he fires a shot into the air,
Right.
and everybody's like, "Oh my God, Samuel!" You know, like, so good.
Yeah, he's a good character.
This screen. By the way, I forgot about this.
Yeah, me too. And I'm like, this is so not us, but I guess it is. Because usually we would. I mean, that's again because we were in the mindset of a thief in a way.
Yeah.
It made sense to have like, okay, here is your score, etc.
Mhm.
Right? But it's at least my go-to is to avoid exposing these kind of things. But it makes
Players
sense in
love
after
it,
this
and
game. Yeah.
and it also encourages them to play again. Like some
Totally,
people are
yeah.
going to look at this and they're going to go,
Oh, I missed one.
Sokolov paintings found. Oh, I didn't know that there was something called Sokolov paintings.
Yeah, I mean, look,
Again, it's just world building.
I found only 221 gold out of 1,000. I'm like, how is it possible that I missed an 8%?
On Dishonored 2, I did hear from people that are a little OCD who said, "Hey, it really stresses me out that I cannot get all the coins because we've discovered that some of them are buried in a rock over here." And so I think we patched it so that we push the coins up, you know.
Funny.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking we play the pub, and then at the end of the pub we probably pause there, because then I want Ricardo and Rich.
Pub closed for business. Half the district.
This is I think there's a game called Sinking City that some people love. It's a little Lovecraftian, and they have a boat like this, but they let you pilot it around in the ruins of a flooded city, and that is something that I would think would have been cool. You know, it wouldn't be as directed. You wouldn't have these speeches from Samuel, the views that we wanted you to see. So this is probably Dishonored.
It looks really cool.
That looks great.
I mean, this is 15 years old, and frankly, I was expecting, I don't know why, but I was expecting the textures to look more, low def than that.
Yeah.
Even the little bevels on the rocks, the stones, etc. I mean,
Weathering things and beveling things and breaking things is just so key.
Yeah, it's really maybe because I remember the console version that was obviously not as IRS, but the PC version, frankly, really.
I mean, you're playing on a beast here.
I'm playing on a beast, but I mean,
You remember this, by the way?
owns the age really well.
Where we had no color and everything was just dull brown and gray, and we went back through and we added these blues and the yellows to the core metal,
That's true.
and it really pops the whole scene.
Right. Yeah, it's cool. Looks so much like some places of England.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Our artists went to Edinburgh, I think, and they took pictures of like construction workers and people like that for the guard base.
Yeah.
Join them. They'll help you get whoever.
This one is a bit blurry.
Yeah. That's stained glass. This old Victorian pub.
Even after 6 months in Coldridge Prison,
Royce continued this later, Lord Penald.
Yeah, I love it.
The man of the SOS here.
We worked with a lot of writers, like you and I, of course, curated the story. Ricardo and I did a lot of writing, but we brought in people like Terry Brosius for things.
Austin Grossman.
Austin Grossman was the main voice of like a lot of the characters, and we edited it a lot later. But like Austin was so talented. He worked on System Shock. He worked on a ton of stuff, Deus Ex. And Pendleton I wouldn't love as much if not for Austin Grossman's sense of humor. I think it is infusing the character.
I work with Austin Grossman right now, actually.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
We've got big plans. But we can't do any of it without you.
You notice he drank the beer and it went down. That is like a level of dedication that I appreciate so much for some developers.
Yeah. You know, these things that we used to call choreographed scenes because they are in first person, but they're not quite. They're still led by AI more or less, but then we add some just animations on top. But this is really something we learned from Valve, from working with Valve back in the day during the Ravenholm thing, and then it became really an obsession for that team, and it paid off like that. When we talked about like how doing Dishonored was a kind of like of a pivotal moment of Arkane that where everything came together. That was part of that as well. You know, how good was the team,
No substitute.
and how hungry for success we were, all of us.
Have you talked to Piero yet?
This was funny too because we had Admiral Havelock as one of the conspirators, but he wasn't the leader. There was a business guy called Jonathan Russell. So it was like a religious leader, Martin, and it was like Jonathan Russell, the business side, and then the military and Havelock, and Pendleton with the nobility, and it was a group
So
like
I
that.
had to simplify again. Right?
And I remember we had a leak early on, and it was the voice actor for Jonathan Russell who went on a podcast or something and just talked about everything, even though he was NDA'd and stuff. And I was like, who is this? Let's figure out who this is. And we realized we had cut the character a week before, and we folded his lines into Havelock. And didn't the guy from Mad Men do Havelock?
Yeah,
It was one of the actors from...
John Hamm?
oh, no.
John Hamm is the main.
It was like the guy
other guy
played his boss.
Yeah, the guy with the gray hair.
You get a new tank from upstairs, please, while I hold this in.
Oh, and this is Brad Dourif.
That's Brad Dourif.
Yeah.
I remember when Piero had the face of the other guy that is in the pub as well.
Yeah, we changed faces because we like this one.
Yeah, look, because the face worked with his face. The voice worked with his face. Yeah.
Stairs. I'm guessing our voice. Fresh tank of whale oil.
A fresh tank of whale oil.
Yeah, I need to replace the. I can't remember what was that again. That was a teleporter thing. It was suggesting that he was doing some teleporting experiment or something, right?
I think it was just an homage to like Portal or something, but because we were constantly dealing with these like 1850s Nikola Tesla and people like that.
Now plug it in.
Stuff that must have seemed like wild science fiction at the time.
Right. Thank you.
And making the Wall of Light was inspired by all of that.
Assassin's mask.
That's how we gave the mask to the player, and it was a cool moment.
It was deeper fiction about Piero dreaming about the mask and making it.
You would do that?
I don't know. It's in there somewhere, but it's like the
Seen one of
the influence of the outsider or something. But
There. Better now?
you just look like you would get a disease in this room. Every room.
Yeah.
Like they're all dirty, rats, bodies, plague. Everybody's got dirt on them. Everybody. We said early on we want everyone in the world to be ugly except for a few characters, right?
Yeah.
The outsider is beautiful, Emily and the Empress.
Oh yeah, so we're gonna see the outsider pretty soon. Actually, let's play the outsider and then we can wrap it up after the outsider. Yeah. I don't know what.
Oh, there's also Emily as
Howard wants to buy us, sell me some shit. Yeah, let's buy.
So even though we really desperately need you to do this or we're all gonna die, I'm still gonna charge you. I'm still gonna charge you money for it.
Yeah, that's
Dude, just give it to me.
yeah, that's the thing that doesn't quite make sense.
Yeah,
but
right.
I think
Yeah, I mean
a
the
game.
background fiction is, hey, this stuff isn't free. I need money to go get the supplies to make this for you. Okay, sure.
Yeah, I like the Sleepless Dog.
Sleep
for some
Folk,
reason.
yeah.
Okay. Anyway,
You must be
you might remember that line. You must be exhausted. It bothered me every time.
Right.
You're like
Yeah, because one of our pet peeves is people that see you after a while like, did you get enough sleep? Are you sick?
You look tired.
Yeah, you look tired. It's like, dude, fuck off. This is my face, like, and so you must be exhausted.
Yeah, you must.
It's a rude comment, actually.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Okay, and so now is the outsider moment.
Dream, right?
So the outsider. Do you remember when? So for a while, the outsider was more like evil, and he was like giving you what we wanted to set up as a system was that he was gonna give you some bad stuff to do, and only if you achieve the bad stuff, then you would get a cool power.
Right.
Remember that?
Yeah.
And
It's so much more interesting this way because he gives you powers that are potentially very destructive.
yeah,
And there's the mindfuck of the door you went through is now open somewhere else. But he would give you interesting powers and then be pleasantly surprised when you didn't brutalize everyone around them, because he's a character. He's not a trickster character. He's a character that's kind of obsessed with how people abuse
like an
power.
observer. But the thing is, it was not really helping us, because we were like, man, if I want the cool shit, then I have to do bad stuff, of course.
And the bad stuff was really bad.
And the bad stuff was really bad, So anyway, we changed that.
Precious daughter Emily's.
Was a kill this lady's dog and throw it down the well.
Yeah, something like that, just do bad things.
I mean, periodically people critique the game for
I am the
like some of the dark characters and what they do, and that's fair, that's fine. But like, it's very hard to make a game about a shitty world where you have to rebel against that shitty world instead of just giving into it without doing dark characters, right? You know?
Yeah. Found power. My gift to you.
My gift to you.
Come find me.
The voice, what happened? Why did we change the voice? I bet everybody asked this question a million times, but I know, like, back then I was surprised, because I like that voice, but then again, I'm not a native English speaker, so and
both of the actors did a great job. The leap of faith.
The leap of faith.
Yeah, the blink. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So
there was a pivotal moment in development where blink wasn't a power you always had. Remember?
Yeah, of course it came on. It's
very late.
It was an optional thing that you could or could not
Many
have.
players didn't have blink.
Yeah,
and
it was one of the powers that you could buy.
Yeah, very late in the project, you said, "What if we always had blink?"
Right.
And it was a pivotal moment because it changed the whole complexion of the game.
Yeah.
Now it's not just a thief clone; it's like a teleporting assassin game.
Right.
But officially.
Yeah.
And then I remember the game design tuning that we all were working on with the amount of mana, where you have to use potions to replenish your mana, but enough to blink once always comes back. And that was also key, because it let you just use blink freely as long as you weren't going too fast.
Yeah, I forgot, man. Those
Take
were
your time.
so many, there was so much intricacy in that decision, because it's like, okay, so the players are going to like to blink, but then if they blink all the time, it's going to be a problem. So how do we do? So we did this thing of a mix of a cooldown and still using mana, but then there's the lower part that regenerates just enough that you can do one more blink if you wait a little bit, so that you're not stuck, but at the same time you can't abuse it, right? That was
It does slow you down and make you listen to some of the conversations and observe some of the guards, and
that's tension in general.
This in the Void here, which changed a lot for Emily. The Void was different for her.
Yeah.
But this thing is a great example of constraint breeds creativity.
Yeah, I remember how it came. It came because we were like, okay, we need to go to the place where the outsider lives, and then we didn't even know the name back then. And then we're like, but we don't have time. And it's like, well, how about? I remember, like, to me, the example I took back then was the Ultima. Because there was in Ultima, there was this world that was in the stars, and they would just use a few of the assets that were in the rest of the game as floating platforms in the stars. Right. And I was like, let's just do something like that. Yeah. You know, we reuse the assets, it's floating, it's going to look surreal.
Yeah.
And of course, the artist made it a million times better than what I had in my head. But
from a storytelling standpoint, it's fantastic, because you may have forgotten by this point Emily or whatever, and you may have not. What happened to Emily after she got taken away by that whaler? Part of Dowd's crew.
Yeah.
And so this is a way of showing you,
totally.
at the Hound Pit, or at the Golden Cat, the Pendleton twins, the Trevor's older brothers that are
even though you don't know that yet.
We don't know that, but
it's a foreshadowing. Yeah, it's so cool, because it's exactly, that's a real environment where we can reuse assets, pose the characters,
them look really good.
Yeah, and also tell a bit of a story. That really paid off.
Or I'm really sad. You know, here's a note. It further builds.
Yeah, small cheap idea that really worked for us.
Yep.
So much. I don't know why. I think at some point I'm gonna have to jump and blink at the same. That's probably the one. No, it's not. So.
And this is a reminder of who the Lord Regent is, and
yeah,
it's even a little tutorial on the watchtowers and the tall boys and all that stuff that we had.
Yep.
Here they are smoking this guy. We worked with Blur. Tim from he did the movie. What is the character? The Marvel character. I can't remember. I want to say Spawn, but it's not Spawn. It's not Deadpool. Is it Deadpool? The Deadpool movie?
Maybe.
With what's his name? The Canadian guy. Why am I so fucking old? Anyway, Ryan Reynolds. Yeah.
Oh.
You've seen this movie? You would love this movie. That's ultra violent.
Oh, no.
Oh my god, he's the regenerator.
There's a bug here. Tough.
we need to get the guy on the phone. Yeah, there's still time to fix this bug and also make the cell door rattle when you click on it.
Let's do a patch.
But anyway, we worked with Blur and the opening cinematic where
Inverted water here.
you see the aristocrat in the car and
Oh, yeah.
they burn all the
Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, that was the trailer, basically.
Yeah, the trailer for
Yeah, it was cool, yeah. You know, I realized, like, how comfortable was the blink interface, because we would
oh man,
we would
that was a
basically
struggle.
tell the player, yeah, I mean, the blink was a bitch to work on, but
Your trials.
I like that we added this thing, like, if you can mental, it's gonna give you the
Well, and if you need to, yeah, if you blink, it's an arrow, and if you need to like mantle up and blink at the same time, it's a different icon. And also, the thing that blows my mind about our UI that I never would have thought beforehand, if you talked to me beforehand, I would be like, ooh, this would bother me, is that it's multiple styles. Like some little cartoons Jean-Luc, I think, did initially for like showing the character mantling or whatever. Plus, like Julian Mario's cool, you know, like 1850s sloppy looking stuff. And then also the like particle effect, the glowy stuff.
Right.
It all like, somehow it all holds together.
Yeah. There we go. The heart. I want to talk about the heart. That was your idea, the heart.
Well, originally, I think you and I were talking about having a sonar for like where you could go.
Yeah.
And then by the time we were done with it,
Vaughn had the heart thing as well.
yeah, he actually, I think, might have suggested like making it a gross heart or whatever.
Yeah, that could.
Well, whatever. The main thing is we all collaborated on it, and you could point it at things and it would whisper secrets about it, and that became a world building tool that was fantastic. And we used it a lot on Dishonored 2 because we dynamically allocated whether the guards were good people or bad people, and like therefore some people made whole playthroughs avoiding killing the people that the heart told them like he's just trying to, you know, keep his elderly grandmother warm at night by working this job or whatever, you know. So.
Right.
But it was a way to find runes and bone charms, which ended up being like pivotal. It bothers me you can't break those bullets, but
Well, we don't have a sword, so that's fine.
yeah.
You know, I want to acknowledge how much, again, the analog type of climbing everywhere, like this that I'm doing right now, is really key to our design philosophy, right? Because it's not about placing markers that are invisible, so that or doing things like in such a calibrated way that you recognize all the things that you can climb from a distance. There's a bit of a more analog kind of feel, and it's
There's an argument in the industry off and on that comes up on social media about yellow paint. Like if the player's stuck, do you need to put yellow paint down to show them?
right.
I'm not a yellow paint guy, I have to admit, but I also don't hate the yellow paint people.
I mean, I like clarity, but
Yeah, clarity is good, and there are some games where the point is not to go slow and pick your way around. So I get it. You know, it's not there's almost nothing that is heresy, right?
Yeah.
But like, I do like what you're saying, which is like we always talk about this too. Like Thief, the original, let you put a rope arrow in any wood. So that means if you look at a wooden
I
cabinet,
didn't see that.
you fell, didn't you? And then we just like forgivingly like put you back in spot. But like you can shoot a rope arrow in the side of a wooden cabinet, and the rope will fall from the arrow,
Right.
Because it's systemic, right? It works in any wood, and if you waste a rope arrow, that's on you. If you find a path that the level designers didn't intended, that's on them. But it works systemically.
Right.
And other people came along later and they were like, oh, I'll put a yellow target up and the rope arrows only stick in the yellow target or whatever. I hate this kind of philosophy.
Same.
I know you do as well.
Yeah,
So.
same. I think that's why we work together. Anyways, that's about. Well, I guess I'm gonna.
This color coding for the active and passive powers, I didn't even remember that there.
Oh yeah,
Some of them are round and blue and some
Yeah.
are black and square. Like, but the style here, I just remember Julian Mario and Jean-Luc Monet and the contractor, I can't remember his name, that we paid to do tons of these illustrations. Hudmaker maybe did some of those.
Yeah, at the beginning, yeah.
Yeah,
And
the style all came together, and it's
Yeah.
just so dynamic.
Man.
I swear to God, when I moved to Lyon, I don't know what his recollection is, but like one of the people just quietly in the background with Dinga and Sebastian Mitton and Christophe Carrier is Jean-Luc Monet, and he just did so much sitting there quietly sketching in a book while you and I would be talking and he would be sketching. And later the bone charms in the game look like his sketches. And one of my favorite gifts anyone's ever given me in the world is Jean-Luc will work through these beautiful little journals, notebooks, and at the end of it, he puts them on a shelf, I guess, and moves on to the next one. And one year while I was there, he and Sebastian took me to lunch, I think, and Marco might have been there, and they gave me, he was like, I want you to have this. And I still have it on my shelf.
cool.
It is so fucking cool because you flip through it and you remember saying something in a meeting. He wrote in large letters.
That's so
Raph
cool, man.
said blah, 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 this, and then he does a drawing or whatever. And it's just like, man, that is like,
Yeah,
I'll take that to my grave, basically. But
Yeah, I love that. Plus, this guy's got the best hair in the industry.
Hair and beard combination award goes again. Once again this year to Jean-Luc Monet.
Yeah. I can't help but thinking that our powers were, in a way, I remember them cooler than they were. I mean, they're cool, but like there's only 3 that are cool. That's what, as we were talking, I was looking at it, and it's like dark vision. I mean, come on, it's bollocks, right? It's like it's just dark vision. Vitality is kind of like it's a bit weak as well. It's just more health.
But there's some like shadow kill.
Well,
where
shadow kill is helpful.
The body turns to ash.
and that's
the way of
my
high bodies. But possession and Blink, Ben Time, those are
superstar. Yeah,
those are
position too. Yeah,
we could have cut Wind Blast. We just Jedi powers.
Yeah.
Devouring Swarm is pivotal to the game because the rats come and they're so
But
stylistically.
especially, it's true. It supports the
plague.
theme, but specifically cool because there's a side effect of. I mean, something that I remember made me feel super cool is, shit, I need to go through this. I want to use a rat to go through this little grate over there, but I can't because I can't find a damn rat. And then you can summon rat and possess one, which
it's
was
a second order consequence of being able to summon rats.
make you feel so much like a virtuoso of the system. Like you understand it so well.
I remember even simple examples of this. You remember the Roberto Williams games in the 80s, the King's Quest or whatever and all that, or maybe it was the 90s, but there was those King's Quest and all these different quests, right? There was one that was called like Adventure Quest or something like that. And you could choose at the very beginning, like, do you want to be a fighter or a mage or a thief? And when you built your characters, I think if you chose thief, it was the cheapest in points, which left you just a point or 2 left over that you could buy a spell from the mage category. And it felt so like a cheat. It felt clever and creative.
Yeah.
And so I would always play the thief and add a couple points for one of the spells or whatever. And it just, like that kind of combination, not every player wants that. Some people want just like, let me go down the path and kill shit and give me the next machine gun or whatever. But like that kind of clever building, like a...
you feel like you're cheating a little bit.
And so we do that with Ben Time. You can use Ben Time for all kinds of things.
But the thing is, there was only, so it's interesting because we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We had 10 basically almost powers.
Is that all the powers?
That's all we have. And then they had 2 levels, right?
Yeah.
And that's all.
Yeah.
That's all there is. And
we debated 3 levels, or Deus Ex has 4 levels. We debated different levels, but it was probably the right call to have 1 and 2.
2 is a good granularity for that kind of game. And but it's funny because in my mind, I mean, right now I'm working on a different game, as a lot of people know, and we are also like thinking like, right now the industry, when we are the time where everything we do is through comps, right? And which is something that I hate about where we are, the development of the game industry, which is gamers want to know like how many this you have, and as designers we do the same. We're like, is our crafting system cool enough? Do we have enough of this? Do we have enough of that? And
sometimes it's a feel for us. I hate it when someone else comes to us and says, how many weapons in this game? Like, as if I say 8 and his favorite game has 9, we suck.
Yeah.
Like maybe the right answer is 3. Maybe.
But I mean, the real answer they want to hear is 300.
Yeah, right. Of course, which does not always make
it doesn't serve you.
I love Elden Ring. It's one of my favorite games of all time. But this game is based around any player can pick up the basic knife and walk up to someone and one-shot them if you
Yeah.
are stealthy right. So then you don't have this range to go. You don't have enemies with 8,000 hit points.
Right.
Therefore, you need the lightsaber at level 8 to kill them. Like
Sure.
no, you can.
But
kill
even
any-
in an RPG environment, you could still decide what is your granularity.
right.
It doesn't have to be that you need 300.
right. Yeah, totally.
There was a time where you could make an RPG with 3 weapons, and that was an RPG. Now it's like, oh, hold on a second. If it's an RPG, it's gonna let me take the RPG police rules.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm not gonna take the revision of Vitality. I'm gonna keep my runes for something better.
I don't think I remember, but we show you which ones you can afford currently with the flashing blue arrow.
exactly.
Again, the
Which
UI
is-
is really slick. Even the sound right now and how quick it's moving and stuff.
Well, that's why we have to play the final game sometimes.
What I have given you falls upon you, as it has to the others before you. And now I return you to your world, but know that I will be watching with great interest.
Remember, our main inspiration for that guy was Godric from
True
Blood, right? We were thinking, okay, we want that outsider to be a bit of the devil and the god at the same time, but it's got to be neutral
Kind
and
of threatening,
soft,
kind of
kind of
at the same
attractive
time.
and threatening at the same time, and maybe like super young, but you're not sure. And Godric was the.
There's an archetype from my childhood. I love the Michael Moorcock books, and Ariok is this sort of like seductive devil guy who's also a bit of a dick. And I love that archetype. It's like the Byronic hero or anti-hero or whatever.
Oh, I hear punk punk. So there's a. Was that the DLC bullshit? think it
Probably.
was. I think
You have the
it was.
DLC unlocked, so you have some extra bone charms and a gold statue worth some shit.
I hate when the industry pushes developers to do this kind of crap because it's like I remember we had an argument with Bethesda about that.
Yeah,
Like
but
we need the DLCs. We
if you
need
pre-ordered through
if you
Amazon,
pre-order, but then if you pre-order to someone else, you need another kind, and so we're then
you have
we
all of them unlocked, I think.
so we had to do all this thing where like the point of this thing is that you give some free goodies to the players, but you don't want it to break the game either or to be an advantage that is unfair to the other ones.
Right.
Ah,
I will say we had fun designing the ones for Amazon because we totally themed it like Back Alley Brawler gave you bone charms related to punching or something, right? Each one was like aquatic, we gave you, we put effort into making those proper for the game, so
Right.
even though we had to do that, we did world building with it, which I love.
it's true. I mean, we did our best with that, and which I remember was complicated because it's like, how do we don't betray the players who don't have the pre-order thing because that's not really
Yeah,
something.
because you know that there's some executive at a corporation out there that's like, why don't you just give them the rocket launcher? Like, hold on, there's no rocket launcher in this game. What if there was? That's how fuck you.
But anyway, I guess that's where
Gonna
we.
stop.
Yeah, I guess
Being
I
able to
would
go out
say-
windows and what does Toph always refer to it? The circulation of the building. Like we obviously all the games we've worked on, we've done skylights and windows and things like that. But man, not having to go out the door is such a key to the games that we make. It's
Yeah.
that sort of levels on circulation. Being able to go vertical, being able to go through an alternate entrance. Anyway, man,
Yeah,
I
so
forgot how cool.
That was it. Yeah, it was cool. It was cool to see you too. So we'll do more if whenever you can. I don't know exactly how many episodes because we're kind of winging it as we're going right now. This was we didn't go very far. We talked a lot, but that's cool.
Part one of a 700 episode series.
I mean, I don't know how many we're gonna do, but like we probably. I mean, I want to finish the game. And I'm sure some of the future episodes won't be as chatty because it's gonna be more like, okay, we're playing, and then we'll comment on some stuff, obviously.
The chatty is the part people want. though.
Yeah, it's probably the part that people want.
I think. Or else just go play the game.
Well, I mean, the thing is, I want it to be chatty, but I also want to finish it. So it cannot be. It has to be just the right type of chatty so that we can finish it.
Yeah. Well, it's also possible to switch the controller back and forth because we found demoing games over the years. It's much better when like you have somebody like, your systems designer playing the game, and he chimes in every now and then, but that frees us to like watch and talk and all that, So, anyway, thanks for hosting.
Yeah.
You have a good setup.
Yeah, so the next ones, I guess, you won't be physically here, but you'll probably join us on the camera from home. And unless you want to come back here, of course, it's totally possible.
It's 4 miles away. I think I can manage it if necessary. Yeah. All right, dude.
Cool. All right. Thank you. See you next time.
Bye.